Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Gourmet Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and Rumble. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. May have a few others join us here shortly. We'll see how that goes. But here to talk some Packers this evening, guys. We're going to jump into several topics. Top 5 underpaid Packers on the roster right now. Really excited about having that conversation. We're going to talk a little Savion Williams and how I think he may fit into that Christian Watson role, at least half of that Christian Watson role. And we'll explain what we mean by that. And then if we have time, we're going to do the Savion Williams chalk talk, where we're going to break down his tape and kind of show you firsthand, hey, here's how he could do what we just talked about him doing in the article. So hopefully we can give you a little visualization of how we see that. But if it's your first time tuning in here at PTA, just want to say welcome. Appreciate you making us a part of your evening. Feel free to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And listen, we're not experts. We're not insiders. We don't claim to be. We're just here, Packer fans, just like you, talking Packers, breaking it all down. We go live pretty much daily. We do pregame, postgame shows during the season. We do film breakdown, which you should see a good little chunk of tonight. We break news, all of that stuff. We don't break news. When breaking news hits, we go live and give you the details, all that good stuff. So it's just kind of your one-stop shop in terms of Packer content on the daily. Tim, Jacob, how we doing, gents?
Happy to be here. I see the beard sliding in a little late, but it's all good.
Here's the guy.
I had a busy day. It's hot, and I'm very hairy, as you can see, and it just doesn't mix well, you know. It's tough.
No, that's how you start to show off strong.
Heard it from a fan right here.
All right, let's jump into the first topic of the night here, gang. And I see everybody in the chat. Thank you all for making us a part of your evening. Hit that like on the way in. And, if you're new here, feel free to sub to the channel. I thought this would be interesting to dive into the top 5 most underpaid Packers players right now on the roster and kind of show a little bit of extra appreciation for these guys that are on the roster. The Green Bay Packers are getting away with robbery. While you hear about massive quarterback contracts, a real secret to their success is players delivering Pro Bowl level performances for a fraction of the cost. This is about getting insane impact for minimal cap space, giving the team a huge competitive advantage. Today, we're calling out the 5 biggest bargains on the Packers payroll, the players whose agents should be demanding a new deal tomorrow. We hope that doesn't happen, by the way. But let's get into it. I want to say this right off the bat. Josh Jacobs could have made this list for the production he had, in my opinion. Xavier McKinney, although on the surface it looks like he's a very, very high-paid safety for his production, he could have made the list. There's several. Romeo Doubs is one that reached that Tier 1 performance bonus or whatever it was called that jumped to $3 million, even at $3 million. And the fact that he made less than $2 million the first 3 years in the league, he could have made this list as well. There's just a multitude of players that could have made this list. You guys got any thoughts, any comments before we dive into the 5 players that I put together on this list?
Tip your cap to Goody. That's a big reason why we're quote unquote stealing right now with the level of talent that we have versus the payroll that we have. So big props to our GM for sure.
Yeah, I'd say also, shout out to Ed Policy. I see that in the chat too, because I'm sure he had his hands in there a little bit with the contracts and all that sort of stuff. And, as much criticism and grief as the front office of Green Bay has received over the last 10 years and plus, they do things the right way. Each year, I think it's Ryan's talked about it multiple times. The teams go out and they just, I almost said a real bad word. They release a lot of money in a way of such to quote unquote go all in, right? And then what happens is probably 95% of the time that situation, that choice backfires immensely to the point where they're playing recovery for the next 3 to 5 years, at least 2 to 3 years, depending on the market, the cap, all the stuff that they have dealing with themselves. I don't remember, but maybe one year that the Packers were just, it felt like we weren't contenders. You know what I mean? And that was a year, I believe, probably Aaron's worst year. It wasn't that year. I believe we went had 4 wins or whatever it was. exactly, Aaron. I don't ever remember not having at least actual positivity and hope for this team, which I think, a lot of times it's hopium, but I sincerely think that the Packers front office for the last 30 years has put us in a position to at least compete every single year. And that's all you can ask for.
Right. And again, in this picture right here, it was kind of a little bit of clickbait, to be honest with you. I put Russ Ball in there, who handles the contracts, right? And of course, Ed Policy, who's going to be now stepping into that new president/CEO role for the Green Bay Packers. But the reality is all 5 of these players on this list, in my opinion, the 5 most underpaid players, were draft picks. Yep. So the structure of those contracts are already in place. Tim knocked it out of the freaking park when he said, thank Brian Gutekunst, because I'm telling you, the reason these 5 players are on the roster is because he drafted them. And it's the same exact reason that their contract is so minimal. And you guys tell me if you agree with this list when we get done here. We'll hit them one at a time. But number 5 on the list is safety Evan Williams. Kicking off at number 5 is a key piece of the Packers' revamped defense. Rookie safety, of course, 2 years ago. Evan Williams, in a league where top safeties are getting paid like star cornerbacks, Williams represents incredible value as a 2024 fourth-round pick. He signed a 4-year deal worth just over $4.8 million. His 2025 base salary is a mere $960,000. For comparison, top safeties like Antoine Winfield Jr. and the Packers' own Xavier McKinney command over $16 million per year on average. Again, average annual value. For that price, the Packers get a player who earned a starting role and was even named to the PFWA All-Rookie team. Williams has been lauded for his intelligence, instincts, and sound tackling. He stepped up to start alongside Xavier McKinney, proven to be a reliable force in the secondary, getting a starting caliber safety who plays a crucial role in Jeff Hafley's new defensive scheme for under $1.2 million in cap hit is an absolute steal that provides massive financial flexibility. When you look at the details of the contract here, guys, we are going into year 2 of his contract. The base salary, $960K, the signing bonus of $200,000, which brings the cap hit for this year up to $1.1 million. Only $1.1 million. If you break that down, Tim, over the entirety of the roster and the salary cap allocation, he basically accounts for 0.42% of the salary cap this year. Absolutely wild that this guy made pretty much the PFF all-rookie team. And we did a chalk talk on him the other day. Everybody was just like, dang, we got us a dog here to play alongside Xavier McKinney. Pennies on the dollar, Tim. What do you think? Yeah. He's worthy of making the list?
Oh, yeah, definitely. You said 0.42%? Is that what you said?
Right.
Well, while also attributing for 42% of our defense on the back end, probably, or something crazy like that. I mean, I think we all had high hopes for him. We were excited on draft day when we got him. But I don't think any of us really thought he was going to have the type of year that he had last year as a rookie. So again, tip your cap to our GM, and, hopefully he balls out, takes another step this year. And, 1 year from now, we're talking about lock this guy up now, restructure him, whatever it takes to keep him around for the long haul. But right now, all signs point to Evan Williams being a massive, massive draft pick from Goody for sure.
Yeah. And Ed Madden says in the chat here, Jacob gets to learn from X. The fact that he's going to be playing alongside Xavier McKinney this entire time is absolutely wild. What do you think about Evan Williams coming in at number 5 on this list?
Yeah, I think it's like Tim said, it's going to be maybe one of Goody's best draft picks. Just the longevity I see in Evan Williams' career, just because we mentioned it in previous episodes that when a guy walks into the league and has a decent 60s grade in that PFF, it's generally a good indicator of how his career is going to go. And to mimic what Tim said, I don't think that any of us really gave him his flowers when we had that draft of 3 safeties. Definitely. Yeah. And you guys know, again, I was still love Bullard. I want him to succeed. I loved Ketan Oladapo. We had the theme song. Everything was, it was just Evan Williams sneaking in as the dark horse there, and just really surprising. I mean, completely surprising me. Surpassing. Don't you do it? Surpassing any expectation. Yeah. Again, I don't think we reiterated enough how drastic that safety room changed from 1 year. We had miss Simone Biles as our starter with another guy I can't even remember anymore. And to have a room of 4 or 5 dudes that I think could be starters on pretty much most teams is pretty insane.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move it along. Number 4 on the list, Jayden Reed, wide receiver. All right. And number 4 is the electric Swiss Army knife of the Packers offense, Jayden Reed. He's the explosive playmaker who can score from anywhere. As a second-round pick, his value is off the charts due to his rookie contract. Reed signed a 4-year, $7 million deal, averaging just under $1.8 million a year. His cap hit this season is a tiny $1.9 million, making him the 102nd highest paid receiver. He's a top 2 weapon on this offense, paid like a 4th or 5th receiver. Reed's value is his versatility. He isn't just a slot guy. He lines up outside, takes jet sweeps, and is a threat in the return game. As one of Jordan Love's favorite targets, he creates separation and makes things happen after the catch, making him a mismatch nightmare. Getting that dynamic firepower for under $2 million a year is unheard of. He's a chess piece for Matt LaFleur without the massive price tag. We'll start with you this time, Jacob. We got Jayden Reed coming in as the 102nd highest paid receiver. Finished the year with the highest passer rating when targeted of any wide receiver in the league. There was only 1 or 2 players above him that were tight ends outside of the receiver realm. When you look at the way his contract lays out, he's in his next to last year on his deal, right? Cap hit $1.9 million. That's 0.70%. A cap percentage, a percentage of the Packers salary cap this year. And then next year's the final year on his deal where he'll jump to $2.2 million against the cap with a base salary of $1.7 next year. What do you think about Jayden Reed coming in here at number 4?
Yeah, I mean, what more could you ask from a guy like Jayden Reed to come in, and that value is just insane. The 102nd lowest paid player. I mean, that's, I guess you could say highest paid. It's one, it's a testament to him coming in and just kind of keeping his head down and grinding in a wide receiver room that is very deep, where, you know, if he didn't come in and have some of the type of games, you know, the type of seasons that he's had already, it would have been easy to kind of write him off. And that Swiss Army knife label, I think it's maybe thrown around a little too haphazardly in the NFL, but Jayden Reed is that guy. Like, you see him move from X to Z to the slot, him doing end arounds, him willing to return kicks, which, again, I don't want to see, but I just think that the type of player that he is, there we go, right here. Ed Madden saying, you know, and Reed wasn't the quote unquote Packers type going into the draft. You know, that was the drafting of Jayden Reed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Clayton, basically had us and you rethink the whole way that we do scouting as far as our draft process, just because we really felt like we missed that, those indicators that he would be a stud for our organization. So me being the president fan club of the I am a cheap, you know what, cheapskate, I think that he is absolutely the best bang for the buck right now at the wide receiver position.
Tim, he's led the Packers in receiving the last 2 years, his first 2 years in the league, and this year coming up, 0.70% of the salary cap. When you got receivers that are literally making 20 plus million per, man, it's absolutely wild.
Yeah, and rookies getting guaranteed contracts, right? Like, what are you gonna do? It's a crazy new world out here, and I'm just happy that we locked Bird in when we did. Like Jacob was saying, like, didn't seem on the surface like a Packers type. Clearly, Goody and the scouting department had their eyes peeled, and they saw the talent that they had, and they brought him in. And I think Bird is going to take a huge step right here in year 3 as well. If anything, you know, again, a year removed from where we are now, we could be having, you know, really difficult conversations about, you know, which of this handful and crop of second and third year guys are we going to really pay long term. And I think the 2025 season is going to be a really good indicator of that. So I look to Bird to step up this year and get even more value, you know, out of this deal that Goody was able to, you know, lock him into as a rookie. So I'm just happy that he's here, and he ain't going to be cheap for very long, right? We know that.
That's exactly right. He's going to get a contract. He's done everything right. He's a Packer type of player. He's a team first guy. There's no doubt in my mind that they're going to pay him, and, you know, how much will it be? We'll see. But also with Jayden Reed, don't be surprised if they look at other options in terms of trying to get him extended. You know, I don't think they'll try to do it this year. It'll be going into next year when that contract happens. Probably one of those guys, just like Zach Tom this year. We're talking about him getting a contract done before the end of training camp. We'll be having the same conversation about Jaden Reed next season, I guarantee it. So number 3 on the list, Edgerrin Cooper. Coming in at number 3 is the new centerpiece of the defense, rookie linebacker Edgerrin Cooper, as the 45th pick in the 2024 draft. Cooper is on a 4-year contract, rookie contract, worth about $8.6 million total. His cap hit for the 2025 is less than $2 million. That's pennies for a player expected to be a week 1 starter at a premium defensive position. Top inside linebackers like Roquan Smith command $20 million per year. The Packers are getting a player with all-pro talent and sideline-to-sideline speed for a sliver of that cost. Cooper was brought in to be athletic, playmaking hub in the middle of Jeff Hafley's new defense, a role that Green Bay has needed for years. Getting an immediate high-impact starter at linebacker on a second-year rookie deal is an incredible bargain that gives the front office major financial flexibility. When you look at this deal, guys, he's accounting for 0.70% of the salary cap, with a $1.9 million cap hit. Unbelievable that we got him under contract for this year, plus 2 more, when the dude graded out an 85 on PFF, and some are saying he's going to be a top 5 linebacker this year. What do you think? Since it looks like Tim stepped away for a second. Jacob, what do you think about Edgerrin Cooper being on this list at number 3, man?
I mean, you got to know what I think. Like you said, 85. I forget that's how he graded that rookie year. 85 and PFF. That gives all the indications that we got ourselves. I don't want to get. I hate saying that we got a future Hall of Famer because it's just way too early. But all the indicators, all the green flags are showing us that Edgerrin Cooper is an absolute stud, and for him to be, again, less than $2 million. I mean, if he ends up being what I think he could be, what I think we all think he could be, which is an actual legitimate top 10 linebacker in the NFL. I mean, for him to be less than $2 million, it's insane. It's just absolutely insane. Also, it gives us time to bolster that defense around him. We give us 1 more year to figure out, is Quay a guy? If he's not, we figure out who else we're going to stack up next to Coop, and we start that whole process over. And if Goody hits again, all of a sudden, we are just, I mean, it's clean living, boys, clean living. It's the reason why we don't make stupid, dumb decisions that half the fan base, and I'll admit that I'm sometimes one of them, that wants us to do something drastic and make a splash signing or something like that. But this is why we don't. Yeah.
Tim, Edgerrin Cooper, man, coming in number 3 on the list. What do you think?
I'll tell you what. You want to know what I think? I think I'm extremely grateful for the autographed Edgerrin Cooper rookie card that we received from Mr. Rick in the chat, donating the card to all of us. Yeah. Guys, hang on to it. Keep it out of the sunlight. Keep it in a nice, cool, dry place, because it could be worth some change in a few years.
Like Daryl's basement. Keep it in Daryl's basement.
I don't know about that, man. You don't want it to be drenched in. Never mind. I'm afraid to say blood on YouTube because it may flag that word. But when I've got to specify now, that's what I meant, and not other fluids. But anyway, Edgerrin Cooper.
Wash your butt, man. That's it. That's all.
Thank you there, Tay. Yeah, Edgerrin Cooper is one, man, and I think it's awesome too. Tier 2 of importance, right? I want him to be the centerpiece of this defense, right? I want Quay to pan out as well. I really, really do. But man, Edgerrin Cooper is that dude. Put him right in the middle of this defense. And again, Mike and Will, that gets tossed around a lot as if they're not interchangeable. We know they are in the nickel 4-2-5 that we run. But man, oh man, put him in the middle of this defense. Keep him in the middle of this defense. Yep. It was so cool to see his snap count go up as the year went on last year for sure. Moving along, number 2. Let's just quick recap. First of all, let's say this. Safety, Evan Williams, tier 2 position, right? Wide receiver, you guys know I don't put it as high on the list as most people do. Edgerrin Cooper, the number 3 cheapest player, tier 2 at that middle linebacker position, right? Now we're getting into tier 1. Number 2 on the list, Rasheed Walker, left tackle. At number 2 is a player with staggering value, starting left tackle Rasheed Walker, a former 7th-round pick. I repeat, Goody found him in the 7th round. He's locked down one of the most important jobs in football. Teams burn top 10 picks and pay millions for a quality left tackle, actually tens of millions, I should say. The Packers found theirs with the 249th pick in 2022 because he was drafted so late. Walker is on an unbelievably cheap rookie contract protecting Jordan Love's blind side. Top left tackles make over $25 million a year. Walker gives the Packers starting caliber play for a tiny fraction of that. He earned the spot after stepping in for David Bakhtiari, starting every game last season and becoming a reliable pass protector. Pro Football Focus gave him a strong 79.6 pass blocking grade, ranking 21st among tackles after he allowed only 3 sacks and over 560 pass blocking snaps. That's high-level play. Getting dependable left tackle play from a 7th rounder isn't just a bargain. It's a franchise-altering advantage. And again, this year, let's go over the recap of his contract. Starting in 2022, the cap hit was $725,000. Then it jumped to $890,000. Then it jumped to $1 million flat. And now this year, he's going to leapfrog to $3.4 million. And the reason being, as you can see right here, if you can see my cursor, 2025 proven performance escalator available. He got the first tier proven performance escalator, Tim, which basically it's just like Romeo Dobbs got. If you perform at such a level that you land into that first tier, you're going to make significantly more money than your rookie contract called for. That's something that the Players Association put into the CBA. That was one of the things that they really wanted to bargain on, and they got that put into the collective bargaining agreement. But what do you think about Rasheed Walker here coming in at number 2? He might not be here long, man. I don't know. We'll see. We've definitely got our money out of him so far, that's for sure.
I was just going to say it makes perfect sense that Sheed wants to get paid, and he deserves it. I mean, you talk about, going back to 2023, right? D-Bach trying to make his way back. We got, one game out of him that year, and we had a young Sheed Walker step up and really play some damn good football for us, protecting QB1's blind side. So I think he's earned it. I think, it's kind of proof in the pudding right here. If you hit certain thresholds as a first and second year player and you kind of, show your worth, you're going to get a big contract. And it's either going to be with the team that drafted you or it's going to be somewhere else. And I think that's kind of where we're at with Sheed right now, trying to figure out left tackle. So we'll see how this pans out. But certainly for the time being, it's an absolute steal for the production we're getting out of him.
Yeah, Clint, the armchair quarterback, says Goot gets better each year. I'm going to tell you this, man. He is crushed on 4th-round picks 2 of the last 3 years. I think one of those years we didn't even have a 4th-round pick. Gives me a lot of hope for Baron Sorrell. We got an article and a deep dive coming up on him probably as early as tomorrow. I'm excited about diving into that. But Jacob, as someone else said in here, Ed Madden said Sheed is always available too, man. The number one ability in the National Football League is availability. You can be the best football player on the face of the planet, but as we always say, you can't make the club in the tub. If you're not healthy, if you can't go out there and perform, it don't make a hill of beans, man.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I've been on the Rasheed Walker bandwagon since the minute we signed him. And if anything, I'm a little bit upset just the fact that they're not willing to, I hate saying pay the man, but I feel like he deserves a little more respect. And if there was a way to maybe try to get a deal where it was a sweetheart deal for the team, I would love to keep him.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jacob, you're cutting out a little bit there, man. But we got the gist of it there for sure. So Chris the Casual in the chat says Sheed deserves a deal with all the money saved at wide receiver. I want to agree with that too, Chris. I do. But at the same time, we can't pay everybody, right? There's going to come a point where you've got to say no to somebody. And when you look at the structure, and we've talked about this over and over and over, and I'm sure many of you disagree with my take here. It's not that I agree with Goody or I agree with, how the front office has handled offensive lineman contracts in the past. It's just the reality of the situation that they've got this blueprint they follow. And typically they don't pay more than 2 offensive linemen top money, right? Now, as we talked about before, there's a chance that Aaron Banks just plays here for 2 years. You get out of that contract. So is it worth it to kind of bleed a little cash for 1 year as Rasheed Walker? Let's say you give Rasheed Walker an extension along with Zach Tom. Okay. Well, now you got Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, and Aaron Banks making big money. But in 2 years, you can get out of the Aaron Banks contract. Now it's just Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom. right? Elton Jenkins making big money this year. He's wanting more money, it sounds like. We'll see if he gets that before camp finishes out. However, I see Elton Jenkins being gone in a year or two, Tim. So that's going to go off the books there, right?
Yep.
So we'll see exactly what happens with these other two cats. Again, for the right price, I'd be all about bringing Rasheed Walker back. I'm just trying to curb the enthusiasm or the hype around that, I should say, because it's highly unlikely they're going to pay Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Zach Tom, and Elton Jenkins 4 offensive lineman top money. Now, the league's constantly changing too, but we'll see how it goes.
That's why Jordan Morgan is the X factor, right? Is he going to make a run at that left tackle spot, or is he going to compete for right guard? You know, we've talked about this a few times. It might make the decision-making process a little bit easier based on how training camp and the preseason kind of shapes up this year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, and moving on to number 1 on the list, surprise, surprise, another tier 1 position of importance, Zach Tom, right tackle. And now for the number 1 most underpaid Packer, it's not even a debate. Right tackle Zach Tom, who has quietly become one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL. It's one of the biggest bargains in pro football. 2022 4th-round pick. Tom's 4-year deal is worth about $4.16 million total, with a 2025 base salary of just $3.4 million because of the proven performance escalators. Another 4th-round pick, or another draft pick, I should say, getting that escalator. That's insane when top right tackles like Penei Sewell and Tristan Wirfs average $28 million a year. Tom provides the same level of play for 3 to 4% of the costs. His contract ranks 68th among right tackles, but his performance is easily top 10. Tom is the definition of consistency, starting every game and showing versatility. Pro Football Focus graded him as one of the very best tackles last season, an elite pass protector, and a beast in the run game. He is an all-pro caliber player. For now, the Packers are getting cornerstone tackle play for the price of a backup. Zach Tom isn't just the most underpaid Packer. He might be the most underpaid non-quarterback in the entire National Football League. So when it comes to Zach Tom's contract, again, final year of the deal, he gets the escalator, $3.5 million, but go back to the previous 3 years, starting in 2022, $831,000, $996,000, $1.1 million, or what he costs us on the cap. Pay that man his money. He has been a steal this entire time. This is the dude I want to give the bag to. Would love to have Rasheed Walker back too, but if I have to choose between the two, it's not even close. Give me Zach Tom. So, Tim, you got anything to add to Zach Tom on this list before we wrap this segment up, man?
Yeah, 100% co-signing that statement. I don't care who it is. If there's one guy you're going to cut the check for, it's the best offensive lineman on your team, and that's Zach Tom for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, so there it is. That is your top 5 most underpaid Green Bay Packers on the roster here in 2025. So what do you think? Is Zach Tom the biggest bargain in the NFL? Who's on your list? Let us know in the comments. If you're watching this video later, hit like, hit subscribe if you like this kind of content, but let us know in the comments what you think about that list right there. All right, let's move it along here. I think we got Jacob trying to get back in. And this isn't nothing on Jacob's end either. This is strictly StreamYard. It's showing, Tim, is it not showing our connection just bouncing around like crazy right now, dude?
Yeah, all over. Yep.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So again,
the beard sideways. Uh-oh.
Look at this. This guy's in the drink, I believe here. Let's take it till he gets it squared away here. We don't want to embarrass him too bad there. We'll be looking at his nose hair. You know what I'm saying, Tim? So
he's got nose hair all over his face, man. The beard just keeps coming, right?
Too old for this is Jacob working the angles. So like it. I love it. All right, man. So let's move along to a little Savion Williams talk. This article is a little long-winded. I'm going to pause in between, Tim, and get your take as we go through here. But this was a fun little put together, man. I threw this all together because with Christian Watson being out until November, right? Oh Lord, he thought he was.
I took it off.
He thought he was
with the one-liner of the night for sure.
Always, man, always. So Savion Williams, right? Everybody's calling him the next Deebo Samuel. That was the big scouting comp. Tim, you remember when we first drafted him? It was all over the interwebs. This is going to be Deebo Samuel, right? I put in this article, and I kind of took a little bit different approach. I said Savion Williams, the next Deebo Samuel, or Christian Watson Bridge. Listen, there are a lot of similarities between Savion Williams and a young Deebo Samuel. There's no two ways about it. But
we're not talking about direct player-to-player comp, though, right? We're talking about the style of play, right? We're not saying he's Deebo. We're saying he's that type of dude, right?
Similar traits, I would think.
Yeah, similar traits. There you go.
He runs with power. He can catch the football. It's not his strength. It's more that ball in his hands is where he does the most damage in terms of that. But
let's dive in. Catch. Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Let's dive into it here. Again, I'm going to try to pause in between because it is a little wordy, but I think there's some really good information in here. Just doing a deep dive. I went back and watched tape of Savion, and I watched tape of Christian here from last year before he, obviously got the knee injury, and just wanted to kind of see, okay, where do the similarities line up? All right. And we'll kind of talk about how that falls into place. We're going to start with Deebo, though. Here we go. But Christian Watson recovering from a torn ACL that's expected to keep him sidelined deep into the 25 season. The Green Bay Packers have a huge question mark at wide receiver. That injury leaves a massive void in the offense. But what if the answer is already on the roster? And what if the answer doesn't just replace a player, but evolves the entire offense? In the third round of the 25 draft, the Packers didn't just draft a wide receiver. They drafted a unicorn, a player with a skill set so unique he's drawing direct comparisons to one of the most dynamic weapons in the game, Deebo Samuel. Today, we're breaking down the tape to see exactly how Matt LaFleur can and will use Savion Williams in that hybrid role. This isn't just about plugging a hole. It's about creating mismatches, manufacturing touches, and building a more lethal, unpredictable offense around Jordan Love. We'll look at his raw power, his shocking agility, and how he can become the new favorite weapon in Green Bay. So keep in mind, when I was writing this article and putting this together, I just watched the tape. Okay, so when we're talking about film breakdown, we'll get to that here in a second toward the end of the show. The Deebo Samuel blueprint. So this kind of answers your question here, Tim. So what does the Deebo Samuel role actually mean? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it's more than just a receiver who can take a handoff. In Matt LaFleur's offense, an offense born from the Shanahan coaching tree, it's a philosophy. It's all about creating chaos for the defense before the snap. It's about using one guy to completely blur the lines between receiver and running back, forces defenses into decisions where there's no right answer. Mainly in personnel matching and mismatching is what we're talking about here, guys. LaFleur's whole system is built on making every play look the same at the start. He loves pre-snap motion, top formations, a.k.a. nasty splits, and, of course, play action. A guy like Deebo lets you motion a receiver into the backfield, and suddenly he's a real threat to run the ball. Does the defense stick with a smaller cornerback on him, or do they swap in a bigger, maybe slower linebacker? No matter what they choose, they've just created a mismatch somewhere else. This offense craves players who don't have a fixed position. They're the chess pieces that unlock the entire board. And when you look at Savion Williams, it's like he was built in a lab to play that exact role for Matt LaFleur. Does that make sense, Tim, in terms of what we're talking about with Deebo, man? Because when you put him in the backfield and you came out 11 personnel, you put him in the backfield, and now the defense has to decide, do we put our nickel corner in there to cover him in the box, or do we let a backer slide over there to it? Next thing you know, they're running a post route out of the backfield, which we'll show on the tape here in a second, and they hit you for 6. But does that all kind of connect the dots there?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, right? Because you're making that defense have to respect, that player. And either way it goes, you have an opportunity to win the matchup, win the hat count, or win the play. And it's a down-to-down league, right? We talk about each rep, So I think it does. That comparison in that sense is absolutely spot on. And, it's the Deebo type, right? Tape doesn't lie. And I would agree with that. We talked about that a little bit, I believe last night or the night before when we were talking about, being able to be in a, quote unquote 12 personnel set without really having 2 tight ends on the field, because you can utilize a guy like Savion in that respect. So I would totally agree.
Definitely. All right. The college tape doesn't lie. This Deebo comparison isn't just wishful thinking based on Williams' size and speed. It's all over his TCU tape. This isn't a role we hope he can transition to. It's a role he's already played at an insanely high level. In 24, Savion Williams was one of the only 2 players in all of FBS football to have at least 6 rushing touchdowns and 6 receiving touchdowns. He put up 60 catches for 611 yards and 6 scores through the air, then added 51 carries for 322 yards and another 6 touchdowns on the ground. Those aren't just gadget play numbers. That's a legitimate dual threat weapon who was a core piece of both their passing and rushing attack. And TCU didn't just use him on a few jet sweeps. They lined him up in the backfield for direct snaps. They ran him right between the tackles. They trusted him in short yardage. He was, for all intents and purposes, their part-time running back who also just happened to be their leading receiver. That kind of experience is priceless. He isn't learning a new position. He's just bringing a proven skill set to a playbook that's practically built to maximize it. I'm not 100% sure he was the leading receiver at TCU because they had Jack Besh, and I want to say there was another receiver as well, but obviously putting up really, really good numbers down there at TCU as a receiver. So that's just kind of a little glimpse into some of the stats that he recorded while he was in college. Look at that shot right there, him leapfrogging. I think that's a Texas player, Texas Longhorn. Dude's just versatile as all get out, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll see in the next few weeks how he's looking at camp, right? Hopefully that shoulder issue is a non-issue going into his pro career. I know we saw him with the sleeve on during minicamp and things like that. So hopefully he's pretty much healthy as a rookie, and he could definitely be poised for an absolute breakout season as a rookie.
Now let's talk about the power component to his game. The first thing that just explodes off the screen when you watch Williams is the pure raw power. This is the foundation of the Debo comparison. It's that ability to turn a simple 5-yard catch into a 15-yard soul-crushing gain. On a simple shallow cross, a staple of the Packers offense, he gets the ball quickly and has a DB squaring him up. For most receivers, that's a 5, maybe 6-yard gain, and that's it. But when you watch Williams, there's no dancing, no hesitation. He just lowers his shoulders and runs straight through the tackle, dragging him for another 10 yards. And this isn't a one-off play. His college film is full of these moments. He just consistently breaks arm tackles and makes 2 or 3 guys bring him down. That physical punishing style just wears a defense down. Cornerbacks who are used to tackling shifty receivers now have to line up against a 6'4", 222-pound battering ram all game. That toll adds up. What have we talked about with Jair Alexander, right? Imagine somebody like Jair who's had a history with the shoulder, a history with injuries, getting a little bit older. He's as quick as he's ever been. He can cover just about as good as he ever has. But boy, oh boy, he doesn't want to tackle a player that's 6'4", 222 pounds. I loved Jair when he was a Packer, but when we play the Baltimore Ravens, I would love to see Savion and him in space together on a little bubble screen. And let's watch Jair try to tackle this absolute monster. That would be awesome. By the fourth quarter, you start seeing bad angles and business decisions, and that's when those little 5-yard passes turn into game-breaking plays. It's no wonder Packers OC Adam Stenavich is already fired up, saying you can, quote, come up with a zillion different ways to use him. It all starts with what he does after the catch. Yak is the name of the game in the passing game for Savion, although there's a little bit of contested catch game there as well, Tim. What do you think about the power aspect of this game?
Yeah, I think it's so true. I mean, I don't care what your size and stature is as a corner in the NFL. I don't think any of these guys want to go heads up with a big body receiver, right? And you talk about Savion's athleticism. I mean, if you're a DB and you're going to try and shoot low and wrap up the ankle and make ankle tackles all day and not lower the boom, a guy like Savion Williams is going to make you look stupid. He's going to hurdle you. He's going to juke you, spin move, and he's out of there. Or he's just simply going to run right through your ankle tackle. So you got to play big boy football against a guy like that. So definitely a multifaceted threat for our offense, and I love it.
Yeah, Chris in the chat says Savion and Josh J. Talking about Josh Jacobs back-to-back touches against Ja with the shocked emoji. Love it, man. AFAM in the chat says, could he be used for the tush push? That's a great idea, AFAM. They caught on. I say they caught on, but it was 100% successful. We would motion Tucker Kraft over like he's motioning across the formation, jump under center real quick, take the snap, and sneak it, right? Now imagine keeping Tucker Kraft stabilized, right? Just, hey, you stay attached at the wire, flex, whatever you're doing. And now you bring somebody like Savion over, take the snap. He was a quarterback in high school. He was recruited partially as a quarterback coming out of high school. And, of course, he settled in at wide receiver and played some Wildcat reps down there at TCU as well. I love what you're saying there, Ethan. Yeah. I think that's absolutely awesome, man.
And the fact that he might not even need a push, right? You could just run him in there and he'll just find his way into the end zone.
Yeah, very true. Film breakdown, the backfield threat. Let's talk about him being a running back now. Okay. All right. Now, for the most exciting part of his game, what he can do is a legitimate weapon out of the backfield. This is what takes him from being just a big physical receiver to a true game wrecker. TCU motion from out wide into the backfield right next to the quarterback. The defense is immediately pointing and yelling, totally confused. The linebacker that had him in coverage is now completely lost. The ball is snapped. It's a direct handoff, and Williams shows a surprising burst through the hole and the vision to find a cutback lane. This is the exact kind of stress Matt LaFleur wants to put on the defense. In 2024, Matt LaFleur used Jaden Reed in this role, but by season's end, he was pretty banged up with an ankle and a shoulder injury, forcing LaFleur to limit his touches in both the running game and the passing game. When Williams is in the backfield next to Josh Jacobs, what does a coordinator do? Treat it like a two-back set? If they do, that leaves one of Green Bay's other receivers in a one-on-one matchup. If they don't, they risk getting gashed by Williams on a simple run play. It also unlocks a whole new level of play action. Imagine Williams getting a fake handoff and then leaking out into the flat or for a pass. The linebacker has to respect the run, which leaves Williams wide open for an easy completion. This is exactly how teams like the 49ers and Rams manufacture easy yards for their quarterbacks. It's not always about complex routes. It's about creating the mismatch before the ball is even snapped. Now, does he not look good in the Packer helmet, man? Look at my guy right here. And again, wearing the shoulder harness. Again, very physical runner. He's had some shoulder injuries, so we got to make sure we monitor that as well. But does that make sense, Tim, about taking some of the wear and tear off of Jaden Reed and allow Savion to absorb a little bit of that? Because, again, we're talking about replacing Christian Watson until November, right? So now you got a guy that can take a little more of that role away from Jaden Reed, and you can put Jaden Reed out in the Z when you're in your normal, 12 personnel. Yeah. If you just want to go with 12 personnel, Jaden Reed can play the Z. And then you can let Romeo Doubs and Matthew Golden fight it out for X. Now you got Savion who can take some of those reps.
Absolutely. We kind of touched on that last night, right? We were talking about Savion and Matthew Golden here. As rookies, how much do you want to put on their plate? How much do you want to ask, a talented, dynamic rookie receiver to do in your offense? I think the answer is what you just touched on. Maybe you free up Jaden Reed, who's established, who's been here, who, like we said, we need to get out of the return room and utilize him more as a dynamic receiver, and then maybe ask, a guy like Savion Williams to do some of these other things. And I think he can find success as a rookie too. And I've got a sneaking suspicion that I think both of our rookie wideouts are going to hit this year, and we're going to be in a pretty good position come week one.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the opportunity. This is how he fits in right now in Green Bay, okay? This isn't just a fun what-if for the future. This is about an immediate pressing need. Christian Watson's ACL injury was a huge blow, and his return timeline for 2025 is a major question mark. While the Packers did draft Matthew Golden in the first round, Golden is more of your traditional deep threat, a speedster expected to fill that vertical Z role and possibly at X. That leaves the hybrid manufactured touch role, the exact role Watson was asked to do lining up in the wing, completely up for grabs. Savion Williams doesn't have to wait in line. He walks into a situation where the coaches need a player with his exact skill set from day one. He's the perfect puzzle piece to fill that specific void. And again, right here's a good visualization. When we talk about him playing wing, notice the top image, Christian Watson playing the wing. This was from last year, guys. This was last year's tape, okay? Matter of fact, I think this was week 1 right here in Brazil. So you see Christian Watson in the wing, right? Now, look at Savion down here in the wing. Does that look familiar, right? So you can utilize him right out of the gate. Any of these formations that you wanted to use Christian Watson in the wing set, you can go ahead and put Savion there. That's something that you don't want Jaden Reed in because he's not big enough to chip if you need him to, or get in there and dig out a backer if you decide to check to a run. That's where I think Savion is very, very valuable, right? Expect to see him on the field right away in special packages. LaFleur will likely script a handful of plays for him every single game just to get the ball in his hands fast. We're talking jet sweeps, bubble screens, and lining up in the backfield or as a wing back, especially in the red zone on short yardage downs. He brings a physical element that perfectly complements the speed of Golden and the route running of Jaden Reed. And Tim, when you look at the PFF grades here, man, he's one of these players that was ascending coming into the league, right? Starting in 2020, a 58. Then he goes to a 60, falls back to a 58. Then in 2023, a 72. And then his final year in college, he scored his highest grade, according to PFF, at a 78.5. 70.9. And again, the receiving grade, pretty damn good, 70.2. But look at the running grade, 90.5 elite running game. Guys, this isn't just hype. And again, as a rookie coming in,